onwards, break-even analysis starts. I don't remember whether I have done the equations of break-even analysis. Did I?
We've done linear equation, x plus y.
No. This is a different set altogether. So we have to look into what are the formulae for break-even analysis. This one, break-even analysis, these formulae.
No, ma'am, we haven't done.
Okay, we have not done. Oh, that's so nice. Okay. Let's see, joined again. I'll take you to a Word file. We will discuss about the break-even analysis in the Word file. The marginal costing equation talks about, first let's talk about what is marginal costing equation. Normally, what is the equation for profit? Profit is given as sales minus variable cost is, sales minus total cost is profit. That is what is the equation of profit. So that's how we find out. But marginal costing, marginal analysis talks about differentiating the cost into variable cost and fixed cost. The purpose is fixed cost is a cost which is not relevant for decision making, and because it doesn't change, no matter what is the situation, it doesn't change. So it suggests that instead of writing the total cost as one item, split that and present it as sales minus variable cost, and then also deduct the fixed cost step by step. So first step, when variable cost is deducted, the resultant figure is called as contribution margin. Sales minus variable cost is called as contribution. From the contribution margin, when the fixed cost is deducted, the resultant figure is called as profit. Ultimately, we arrive at this profit and this profit, both of them are equal. There is no difference here. But the point is, fixed cost doesn't change whether the activity is increased or decreased within the relevant range until it reaches the maximum capacity. Fixed cost remains the same. Therefore, fixed cost is not relevant for decision making. It is not a controllable cost. So, find out a profit which is based on controllable cost, which is variable cost. So, sales minus variable cost is calculated as contribution. From the contribution, when fixed cost is deducted, the resultant figure is profit. So, first, the base here, what we are going to look into is, first write what is the equation of marginal costing. So, it says that sales minus variable cost is called as contribution. From the contribution, fixed cost is deducted and the resultant figure is called as profit. Okay, then it is understood that fixed cost is not relevant for decision making. Then what is relevant for decision making is only the variable cost. Therefore, deducting that, the profit which is earned is called as contribution. So contribution margin is considered as relevant profit, or it is controllable profit based on that various decisions are taken. So first thing is, what is calculated is what is the percentage of contribution margin over sales. If sales is the base, that is taken as 100%, what is the percentage of contribution? So that is how it is calculated. So the first equation what we have is contribution margin ratio. This is equal to, the formula says it is contribution by sales into 100. The logic here for this one is, if sales is taken as 100%, the contribution margin is what percentage of it. So that is the logic. Later on, we would be learning certain cases where um, contribution is considered for decision making. So there is a lot of importance for contribution margin. Um, so this is how it is calculated: contribution into 100 by sales. That's the logic. After we find out this part of it, there is a concept called as what is break-even point. Break-even point is calculated in two ways. One is in terms of number of units. Then we have break-even point in sales value. The formula for break-even point in units is equal to, it is fixed cost divided by contribution margin per unit. Break-even point is a point. I think you must be knowing that break-even point is a point where there is no profit, no loss. Now, if we look into the scale of, if we present the scale of activity, the level of activity on a graph, if we present it, if our units or output is presented on x-axis, from 0 till the maximum number of units, which is also called as relevant range, we see that there is a cost which remains fixed. It is incurred right at the time of 0 number of units, and it is the same until it reaches the maximum capacity. From 0 till the maximum number of units, fixed cost is a cost which remains fixed. Fine, this is a fixed cost. Then we see there's another cost which is variable cost, which varies proportionately with the output. So at 0 number of units, it is 0. But as the output keeps increasing, we see variable cost also increases. So that's variable cost. The total of variable cost plus fixed cost is the total cost. So we know that. So total cost starts from here, because by then already fixed cost is incurred. So total cost starts from this point and it keeps increasing. So this is total cost. After the total cost, if we present the here on the y-axis, we have not only cost, we also present the revenue, cost or revenue, which is sales. Both of them are plotted on the y-axis, but sales is 0 at 0 number of units. So it starts from 0 number of units and it starts from 0 number of units and it keeps increasing. So the point where these two lines intersect, that is plotted on the x-axis. So the number of units on the x-axis is the point of break-even point. What does it indicate? It indicates that, now this is sales curve. It indicates that till the break-even point, till the point of intersection of these two lines, we see that there is loss, because at 0 number of units only, the total cost is already at fixed cost. Now the fixed cost, the total cost is above the sales revenue. Sales initially is only zero. From zero, it slowly picks up and it keeps increasing until it reaches a particular point. We see that the sales revenue is less than the total cost. If sales is less than the total cost, it is only loss, because fixed cost still has to be absorbed. Revenue is not so much there that it can completely absorb the fixed cost. So then it has to wait until or generate more amount of revenue. Once the revenue increases, now as the number of units produced and sold are increasing, by then already fixed cost is incurred. It is only the variable cost which keeps increasing with the increase in number of units. Therefore, a point comes where the total revenue generated becomes equal to the total cost. So once the total revenue and total cost are equal, that is the point where both of them are equal. So there is no profit, no loss. So that is the point of break even. After the break even point, then we see this the roles reverse. Sales is greater than the total cost. But until the break even point, total cost was more than the total sales. So as long as the total cost was more than total sales, that is loss. But once the roles reverse, when the sales exceed the total cost, there is profit. But only at one single point where these two lines meet each other, there is no profit, no loss. So that is the break-even point. The concept is that is the break-even point. One important point is below the break-even point there is loss. All this region there is loss, and above the break-even point there would be profit. Okay, this is the concept what we have. Below the break-even point there is loss. Above the break-even point there is profit. Now, I'll erase the graph so you can go concentrate on the formula. Now, why are we writing? The equation format we have written that break-even point in units is equal to fixed cost by contribution margin. What did we understand the meaning of break-even point? A point where there is no profit, no loss. So this profit becomes zero here. So ultimately, what is the situation? Contribution, as much as the contribution is there, that much is the fixed cost. Okay. So there is no profit, no loss. So we see that contribution is equal to fixed cost. Okay. So we basically have to equate fixed cost and contribution. So that is what we have presented. But the equation has something else. Now, apart from this, let's say, how do we calculate what is cost per unit? If we have to calculate what is cost per unit, the equation for cost per unit would be total cost divided by the number of units. Total cost divided by number of units. If you have to find out number of units, what do? We divide total cost divided by cost per unit, isn't it? If we have to find out number of units goes to the other side. We have total cost divided by cost per unit. The same is the logic here. Fixed cost and contribution margin are to be equated to find out how many, what is the point where there is no profit, no loss. But we want to find out that very specifically in terms of number of units. So we have the total fixed cost in the numerator and the denominator has cost per unit, or here rather we have it as contribution margin per unit. So that's the logic here. Then after that, we also have, we have a heavy rain here. So by any chance, if I get disconnected, the internet may get disconnected. I'm not sure. As long as it is there, we'll continue. But by any chance, if I get disconnected, then close the class, and then because it's only another 14-15 minutes time is there. By any chance, if I get disconnected, please close that. Now, if at all, if we have to find out what is break-even point in sales value, in dollars value, in sales value, we need to know how much value of sale should be made so that there is break-even. So that also is equating by fixed cost and the contribution. But this time it is so fixed cost divided by the percentage of contribution margin on sales. So the denominator has contribution margin ratio. Next, any other level other than the break-even point, we see there is either profit or loss. So we can also find out any other level, desired sales in units if we are to find out. But any other point, either there is profit or loss. So the equation of break-even point only can be taken, but the difference will be divided by contribution margin per unit. Then desired sales in sales value, on dollar value. If we have to find out, we use the same thing. Here, this time it will be contribution margin ratio. Then there is another concept called as margin of safety. Margin of safety is when are they safe? When their sales exceed the break-even sales, they are safe. So actual or budgeted sales, depending on the situation, minus the break-even sales. So once the sales level is above the break-even sales, there is profit margin. That is the point where they are safe. So margin of safety is actual sales minus break-even sales. So for the moment, let's look at these ratios. If some other things also arise, we will look into that. The way they are presented, the logic is the same. The way you present it, it doesn't matter. Each author has written that in their own style and method. The first one is what is break-even point, fixed cost divided by contribution margin per unit. Break-even sales is fixed cost by contribution to sales ratio. Output required for target profit. If there is a profit margin, profit amount which they want to earn, so how many units have to be sold? Okay. Margin of safety is budgeted level of activity over and above the break-even level of sales. Margin of safety converted into percentages. Find out margin of safety that if budgeted sales is 100%, margin of safety is what percentage? So that is a simple logic here. Then multi-product situations, we can take it up in the next class. But getting back to the questions which are there in our examination kit.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
could you show that Word document once, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
The question says a company has budgeted break-even sales revenue of 800,000 and a fixed cost of 320,000 for the next period. What is the sales revenue needed to achieve a profit of 50,000 in the period? Question number 189. What is the sales revenue needed to achieve a profit? So we have desired sales in sales value in dollar value is equal to the numerator has fixed cost plus the desired profit margin divided by the denominator has contribution margin ratio. We do not know what is contribution margin ratio. All what we know is what is the budgeted sales revenue, what is the fixed cost. So we know the fixed cost, we know the desired profit, but the denominator contribution margin ratio is not known. So what we can do is we can take the help of break-even sales. So break-even sales is equal to fixed cost divided by contribution margin ratio. So now substituting that, we have contribution margin ratio is equal to break-even sales are 800,000. No, but this goes to the denominator. No? Fixed cost is 320,000. 320,000 divided by 800,000. Check that. How much is it? So that's 40%. 0.4 or percentage by 40%. Either ways we can take that. So desired sales has fixed cost, which is 320. Desired profit is 50. Contribution margin is 40. So we can find out what is desired sales. So 925,000. If PG company sells 3 products, the ratio, this is multi-product, we'll do it later. 191. Our company provides a single service to its customers. An analysis of its budget for the year ending 31st December 20 X5 shows that in period 3, when the budgeted activity was 6,570 service units with a sales value of $72 each, the margin of safety was 21.015%. Budgeted contribution to sales ratio of the service is 35%. Budgeted fixed cost in period 3 were nearest to Budgeted activity was 6,570 service units with the sales value. So budgeted sales is 6,570 into 72. Margin of safety is already given. Margin of safety is given as 21.015%. Okay. Please present this one, 191. It is just like a finding out the missing figure. Budgeted sales value, budgeted sales is equal to the number of units of 6,570 into 72. Margin of safety percentage is given as 21. What is margin of safety? Margin of safety is budgeted sales minus break-even sales. If budgeted sales is 100%, margin of safety is 21.03%. It's given as 21.015%. The logic with margin of safety is the formula says the numerator, what does it have? Budgeted level of activity minus break-even level of activity. So what is this? The numerator is basically margin of safety. So margin of safety by budgeted level of activity into 100. Okay. So if sales, budgeted sales is 100%. If this is 100%, then what is the margin of safety in terms of percentage? If budgeted sales is 100%, margin of safety is calculated as what percentage? Margin of safety into 100 by budgeted sales. That's the logic. Okay. Now, after doing this calculation, the value in the present situation, the present question is given as 21 point some percentage. So, can we calculate what is margin of safety? If this is equated to be as 100%, how much is margin of safety? So, margin of safety, this equation wise, we have this one as margin of safety okay. So after doing that, we already know what our budgeted sales, so we can find out what is margin of safety. So that's the point here. Margin of safety is equal to this percentage into the budgeted sales. That's the logic. So this is margin of safety. Once margin of safety is known, can we find out break-even sales? Margin of safety, another formula for this one is minus break-even sales. Because the two figures are there, we have budgeted sales, we have the margin of safety, we can find out what is break-even sales. So now the break-even sales here are break-even sales are there. We also know what is the contribution margin ratio, which is 35%. So we can find out what is fixed cost. So break-even sales is equal to fixed cost divided by contribution margin ratio. That is 373,630. So now we need to find out what is fixed cost. So fixed cost is equal to break even sales are 373 631 into 35%. It's not mentioned the nearest to that, but nearest to is maybe they have rounded off to thousands. So it the closest is 131,000, or after rounding it up, because the answers are closer to this one 131,000. So B is the option. We'll continue. When do we have a class? Tomorrow we have a class, isn't it? So tomorrow we'll meet and then take it up.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.